Section 1 of a Rubaiyat Miscellany. This is a Librivox recording. All Librivox recordings are in the public domain. For further information or to volunteer, please visit librivox.org. Recording by Algy Pug. Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyám by Edward Fitzgerald. Author's final revision, with the literal Omar, being a version of those quatrains of the original upon which Fitzgerald's poem was based, edited by Arthur Guiterman, with 8 illustrations by Gilbert James. Paul Elder and Company, Publishers, San Francisco, 1909. The Preface. About the middle of the 11th century, perhaps a dozen years before the Battle of Hastings, Omar Khayyám, or, to give him his full title, Ghiyas-ud-Din Abu Fakhr Omar in Ibrahim al-Khayyám, was born in the city of Naishapur, in the province of Khorasan, in the ancient and somewhat decadent kingdom of Persia. Omar's surname, Khayyám, meaning tent-maker, descended to him from his father, and the theory that he ever practised his paternal or ancestral calling is hardly countenanced by the poet's own whimsical allusion to his name in the oft-quoted quatrain: Khayyám, who stitched the tents of learning, falling into grief's furnace, lies burned to ashes. The knife of fate hath cut the tent-ropes of his life, and the broker of hope hath sold him for a song. Though there are conflicting opinions, it is popularly accepted that Omar was educated in his native city at the school of a renowned priest and teacher, the Imam Mowaffaq, in fellowship and sworn brotherhood with 2 schoolmates, who were destined to figure prominently in the annals of their time. The first of these was Hasan ibn Ali, later known as the Nizam-ul-Mulk, that is, regulator of the state, or vizier to the Sultan Up Ashlan and Malik Shah. The other was Hasan ben Sabah, afterwards infamous as the Sheikh al-Jabal, or Old Man of the Mountains, of the Crusaders, founder and chief of that terrible sect, the Assassins. The 3 boys mutually vowed that whichever one of them should attain to power would share his good fortune with the others. So it was that when Hasan ibn Ali became chief administrator of the state, he offered Omar the governorship of Naishapur and the adjacent districts. The poet, however, had no political ambitions, and desired only the means to enable him to pursue his scientific researches without care for the morrow. His friend therefore granted him a substantial pension, in the enjoyment of which he spent his remaining days at Naishapur, occupied with the study of the sciences, especially mathematics and astronomy. He was greatly honoured by Sultan Malik Shah, and was one of the 8 scientists employed by that ruler in the important work of reforming the Mohammedan calendar, a task that he and his associates performed with great success. He was the author of various mathematical, astronomical, and meteorological pamphlets and tables of high repute, and there are extant quaint stories which exalt him as an astrologer and weather prophet of parts, although the narrators of these tales admit that Omar himself placed small faith in forecasts of future events. Indeed, several incidents make it appear that Omar had a far keener sense of humour than most of his contemporaries, and was not above a joke at the expense of the literal-minded. He died in A.D. 1123, and was buried near the wall of the cemetery of Naishapur, where the extended boughs of the fruit trees in an adjoining garden, blossoming at different seasons, repeatedly covered his tomb with heaps of their dropped flowers, thus fulfilling his prophecy, recorded by a loving pupil: "My grave will be in a spot where the trees will shed their blossoms on me twice a year." There are said to be, in various known manuscripts, about 1200 rubaiyat or quatrains ascribed to Omar, though many of these are admittedly spurious, some having evidently been interpolated by scribes or scholars to voice their dissent from the poet's heretical views. Each rubai is really a distinct poem. In the Persian manuscripts the quatrains are grouped alphabetically, that is, according to the terminal letters of the rhymed lines, and with no reference to their meaning or subject. Fitzgerald, in his beautiful version, besides selecting, combining, and marvellously retouching such Rubaiyat as appealed to his genius, arranged them so as to produce an effect of continuity of thought wholly lacking in the originals. Interpreted literally or allegorically, Omar has been diversely credited with every possible form of belief and unbelief, but the old astronomer took himself far less seriously than many of his commentators take him, and themselves. His was a period of great religious unrest in the Mohammedan world, with much wrangling of the 72 jarring sects, each blissfully assured of the eternal damnation of all the others. And it is easy to believe that he took a sly delight in shocking the dogmatists, partly by voicing directly heterodox views, often by carrying their own doctrines to unforeseen yet logical conclusions. Moreover, his verses, the diversions of a mathematician thrown off at widely separated times, embody temporary moods and impressions as frequently as seated convictions. That he had convictions is hardly to be doubted. He could be serious and devout, as well as mocking and cynical. But each reader will inevitably interpret the delightfully inconsistent old Persian according to his individual lights, moods, and fancies. Among the less known literary remains of the many-sided astronomer is the following quaint little dialogue between himself and reason, in which he reveals his very human, very modern personality far more distinctly than in many of the better-known Rubaiyat. Omar and Reason. Old Reason dined with me, a seldom guest. We passed a pleasant noon in idle jest. Said I, "Thou, fount of knowledge, pray impart The truth of many things that vex my heart. First tell me, what is life when rightly weighed?" "Asleep," said he, "with dreams that glow and fade." "And canst thou name the fruits thereof?" I said. He nodded, "Sundry aches of heart and head." "Then, what is marriage?" next I sought to know. "An hour's joy," he scoffed, "and years of woe." "Define," said I, "the breed that preys on me." "A pack of jackals, wolves, and dogs," growled he. "Can aught subdue the soul of man?" I cried. "The world hath whips," quoth he, "and chains beside." "What works are old Khayyam's?" I asked betimes. "False figuring," he laughed, "and crazy rhymes." Anything is to be expected of the mathematician and poet whose philosophy had in it enough of the spice of humour to enable him thus to laugh at his own work. Edward Fitzgerald, to whom the English-speaking world owes its delight in Omar, was born March 31st, 1809, in the White House, a fine old English mansion in Suffolk. He was the third son of John Purcell, a wealthy Irish doctor, who in 1818 assumed the name Fitzgerald, which was that of his wife, she having inherited her father's large estate. The future revivifier of Omar was educated at King Edward's School in Bury St Edmunds and at Trinity College, Cambridge. After his graduation in 1830 he passed a life of pleasant, easy-going literary dilettantism, in the enjoyment of a moderate but sufficient income, always, in the words of his friend Carlyle, a lonely, shy, kind-hearted man. He married, November 4th, 1856, Lucy Barton, daughter of his friend Bernard Barton, the Quaker poet, seemingly because he had promised her dying father to care for her. But his retiring, eccentric nature was anything but adapted to married life, and in about 6 months the ill-mated pair quietly separated to live happily ever after. Fitzgerald's later years were chiefly spent on his farm at Little Grange near Woodbridge. He died June 13th, 1883. Although his miscellaneous writings and translations lack the enduring qualities of his one great poem, they are not unworthy of a man whom Thackeray and Tennyson delighted to call their friend. The first edition of Fitzgerald's version of the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam of Naishapur, containing 75 quatrains, was issued in pamphlet form February 15th, 1859, at 5 shillings, but was sold out at a penny a copy, attracting no attention save in purely literary circles. This edition was reprinted by Bernard Quaritch in 1862. A second edition, containing 110 quatrains, was issued in 1868, to be followed by a third and a fourth, each of 101 quatrains in 1872 and 1879. Fitzgerald's version is far more than a mere translation. It is a masterly adaptation, a work of original genius based on selected quatrains of the Persian poet, presenting many of his most striking thoughts and expressions in the purest English verse. Though some phases of Omar's mentality are not represented, the Persian as a poet has hardly suffered at the hands of the Englishman. How well Fitzgerald did his work may be gathered from a comparison of his stanzas with the translations of the quatrains of Omar upon which they were mainly based, printed elsewhere in this volume. End of section 1. Section 2 of a Rubaiyat Miscellany. This Librivox recording is in the public domain. Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyám. Wake, for the sun who scattered into flight the stars before him from the field of night, drives night along with them from heaven, and strikes the Sultan's turret with a shaft of light. Before the phantom of false morning died, methought a voice within the tavern cried, "When all the temple is prepared within, why nods the drowsy worshipper outside?" And as the cock crew, those who stood before the tavern shouted, "Open then the door, you know how little while we have to stay, and once departed, may return no more." Now, the new year reviving old desires, the thoughtful soul to solitude retires, where the white hand of Moses on the bough puts out, and Jesus from the ground suspires. Iram indeed is gone with all his rose, and Jamshid's 7-ringed cup where no one knows. But still a ruby kindles in the vine, and many a garden by the water blows. And David's lips are locked, but in divine high piping Pehlevi, with "Wine, wine, wine," red wine, the nightingale cries to the rose that sallow cheek of hers to incarnadine. Come, fill the cup, and in the fire of spring your winter garment of repentance fling. The bird of time has but a little way to flutter, and the bird is on the wing. Whether at Neshapur or Babylon, whether the cup with sweet or bitter run, the wine of life keeps oozing drop by drop, the leaves of life keep falling one by one. Each morn 1,000 roses brings, you say. Yes, but where leaves the rose of yesterday? And this first summer month that brings the rose shall take Jamshid and Kaikobad away. Well, let it take them. What have we to do with Kaikobad the Great, or Kaikosru? Let Zal and Rustum bluster as they will, or Hatim call to supper, heed not you. With me along the strip of herbage strown that just divides the desert from the sown, where name of slave and sultan is forgot, and peace to Mahmud on his golden throne. A book of verses underneath the bough, a jug of wine, a loaf of bread, and thou beside me singing in the wilderness. O wilderness were paradise enow. Some for the glories of this world, and some sigh for the prophet's paradise to come. Ah, take the cash, and let the credit go, nor heed the rumble of a distant drum. Look to the blowing rose about us. Lo, laughing, she says, into the world I blow, at once the silken tassel of my purse tear, and its treasure on the garden throw. And those who husbanded the golden grain, and those who flung it to the winds like rain, alike to no such aureate earth are turned as, buried once, men want dug up again. The worldly hope men set their hearts upon turns ashes, or it prospers, and anon, like snow upon the desert's dusty face, lighting a little hour or two, is gone. Think, in this battered caravanserai, whose portals are alternate night and day, how sultan after sultan with his pomp abode his destined hour, and went his way. They say the lion and the lizard keep the courts where Jamshid gloried and drank deep, and Bahram, that great hunter, the wild ass stamps o'er his head, but cannot break his sleep. I sometimes think that never blows so red the rose as where some buried Caesar bled, that every hyacinth the garden wears dropped in her lap from some once lovely head. And this reviving herb whose tender green fledges the river lip on which we lean, ah, lean upon it lightly, for who knows from what once lovely lip it springs unseen. Ah, my beloved, fill the cup that clears today of past regrets and future fears. Tomorrow! Why, tomorrow I may be myself with yesterday's 7,000 years. For some we loved, the loveliest and the best that from his vintage rolling time hath pressed, have drunk their cup a round or two before, and one by one crept silently to rest. And we, that now make merry in the room they left, and summer dresses in new bloom, ourselves must we beneath the couch of earth descend, ourselves to make a couch, for whom? Ah, make the most of what we yet may spend before we too into the dust descend. Dust into dust, and under dust to lie, sans wine, sans song, sans singer, and sans end. Alike for those who for today prepare, and those that after some tomorrow stare, a muezzin from the tower of darkness cries, "Fools, your reward is neither here nor there." Why, all the saints and sages who discussed of the two worlds so wisely, they are thrust like foolish prophets forth, their words to scorn are scattered, and their mouths are stopped with dust. Myself when young did eagerly frequent doctor and saint, and heard great argument about it and about, but evermore came out by the same door wherein I went. With them the seed of wisdom did I sow, and with mine own hand wrought to make it grow, and this was all the harvest that I reaped. I came like water, and like wind I go. Into this universe, and why not knowing, nor whence, like water willy-nilly flowing, and out of it, as wind along the waste, I know not whither, willy-nilly blowing. What, without asking, hither hurried whence? And, without asking, whither hurried hence? Oh, many a cup of this forbidden wine must drown the memory of that insolence. Up from earth's centre through the seventh gate I rose, and on the throne of Saturn sate, and many a knot unravelled by the road, but not the master knot of human fate. There was the door to which I found no key, there was the veil through which I might not see. Some little talk awhile of me and thee there was, and then no more of thee and me. Earth could not answer, nor the seas that mourn in flowing purple of their Lord forlorn, nor rolling heaven with all his signs revealed and hidden by the sleeve of night and morn. Then of the thee in me who works behind the veil I lifted up my hands to find a lamp amid the darkness, and I heard as from without, the me within thee blind, Then to the lip of this poor earthen urn I leaned, the secret of my life to learn, and lip to lip it murmured, "While you live, drink, for once dead, you never shall return." I think the vessel that with fugitive articulation answered once did live and drink, and ah! the passive lip I kissed, how many kisses might it take and give? For I remember stopping by the way to watch a potter thumping his wet clay, and with its all obliterated tongue it murmured, "Gently, brother, gently, pray." And has not such a story from of old down man's successive generations rolled, of such a clod of saturated earth cast by the Maker into human mould? And not a drop that from our cups we throw for earth to drink of, but may steal below to quench the fire of anguish in some eye there hidden, far beneath, and long ago. As then the tulip for her morning sup of heavenly vintage from the soil looks up, do you devoutly do the like till heaven to earth invert you, like an empty cup. Perplexed no more with human or divine, tomorrow's tangle to the winds resign, and lose your fingers in the tresses of the cypress slender minister of wine. And if the wine you drink, the lip you press, end in what all begins and ends in? Yes. Think then you are today what yesterday you were. Tomorrow you shall not be less. So when that angel of the darker drink at last shall find you by the river brink, and, offering his cup, invites your soul forth to your lips to quaff, you shall not shrink. Why, if the soul can fling the dust aside, and naked on the air of heaven ride, were't not a shame? Were't not a shame for him in this clay carcass crippled to abide? 'Tis but a tent where takes his one day's rest a sultan to the realm of death addressed. The sultan rises, and the dark Farash strikes, and prepares it for another guest. And fear not lest existence, closing your account, and mine, should know the like no more. The eternal Saki from that bowl has poured millions of bubbles like us, and will pour. When you and I behind the veil are past, oh, but the long, long while the world shall last, which of our coming and departing heeds as the sea's self should heed a pebble cast. A moment's halt, a momentary taste of being from the well amid the waste, and lo, the phantom caravan has reached the nothing it set out from. Oh, make haste! Would you that spangle of existence spend about the secret? Quick, about it, friend! A hair perhaps divides the false and true, and upon what, prithee, may life depend? A hair, perhaps, divides the false and true, yes, and a single Alif were the clue, could you but find it, to the treasure house, and peradventure to the Master too, whose secret presence through creation's veins running quicksilver-like eludes your pains, taking all shapes from Mah to Mahi, and they change and perish all, but he remains. A moment guessed, then back behind the fold Immersed of darkness round the drama rolled, Which, for the pastime of eternity, He doth himself contrive, enact, behold. But if in vain, down on the stubborn floor of earth, and up to heaven's unopening door, You gaze today, while you are you, how then tomorrow you when shall be you no more? Waste not your hour, nor in the vain pursuit Of this and that endeavour and dispute. Better be jocund with the fruitful grape than sadden after none or bitter fruit. You know, my friends, with what a brave carouse I made a second marriage in my house, divorced old barren reason from my bed, and took the daughter of the vine to spouse. For is and is not, though with rule and line, and up and down by logic I define, of all that one should care to fathom I was never deep in anything but wine. Ah, but my computations, people say, reduce the year to better reckoning. Nay, 'twas only striking from the calendar unborn tomorrow and dead yesterday. And lately, by the tavern door agape, came shining through the dusk an angel's shape bearing a vessel on his shoulder, and he bid me taste of it, and 'twas the Grape. The Grape that can with logic absolute the 72 jarring sects confute, the sovereign alchemist that in a trice life's leaden metal into gold transmute. The mighty Mahmud, Allah breathing Lord, that all the misbelieving and black horde of fears and sorrows that infest the soul scatters before him with his whirlwind sword. Why, be this juice the growth of God? Who dare blaspheme the twisted tendril as a snare? A blessing, we should use it, should we not? And if a curse, why then who set it there? I must abjure the balm of life, I must, scared by some after reckoning ta'en on trust, or lured with hope of some diviner drink to fill the cup when crumbled into dust. O threats of hell and hopes of paradise! One thing at least is certain, this life flies. One thing is certain, and the rest is lies, the flower that once has blown forever dies. Strange, is it not, that of the myriads who before us passed the door of darkness through, not one returns to tell us of the road which to discover we must travel too? The revelations of devout and learned who rose before us and as prophets burned are all but stories which awoke from sleep they told their comrades, and to sleep returned. I sent my soul through the invisible some letter of that afterlife to spell, and by my soul returned to me and answered, I myself am heaven and hell. Heaven but the vision of fulfilled desire, and hell the shadow from a soul on fire cast on the darkness into which ourselves, so late emerged from, shall so soon expire. We are no other than a moving row of magic shadow shapes that come and go round with a sun illumined lantern held in midnight by the master of the show. But helpless pieces of the game he plays upon this checkerboard of nights and days, hither and thither moves, and checks, and slays, and one by one back in the closet lays. The ball no question makes of eyes and nose, but here or there as strikes the player goes. And he that tossed you down into the field, he knows about it all, he knows. He knows. The moving finger writes, and having writ moves on, nor all your piety nor wit shall lure it back to cancel half a line, nor all your tears wash out a word of it. And that inverted bowl they call the sky, whereunder crawling cooped we live and die, lift not your hands to it for help, for it as impotently moves as you or I. With earth's first clay they did the last man knead, and there of the last harvest sowed the seed, and the first morning of creation wrote what the last dawn of reckoning shall read. Yesterday this day's madness did prepare, tomorrow's silence, triumph, or despair. Drink, for you know not whence you came, nor why. Drink, for you know not why you go, nor where. I tell you this, when, started from the goal, over the flaming shoulders of the foal of heaven Pawan and Mushtari they flung, in my predestined plot of dust and soul. The vine had struck a fibre, which about if clings my being. Let the dervish flout. Of my base metal may be filed a key that shall unlock the door he howls without. And this I know, whether the one true light kindle to love, or wrath, consume me quite, one flash of it within the tavern court better than in the temple lost outright. What? Out of senseless nothing to provoke a conscious something, to resent the yoke of unpermitted pleasure, under pain of everlasting penalties if broke? What? From his helpless creature be repaid pure gold for what he lent him dross allayed? Sue for a debt he never did contract, and cannot answer? Oh, the sorry trade! O thou, who didst with pitfall, and with gin, beset the road I was to wander in, thou wilt not with predestined evil round in mesh, and then impute my fall to sin. O thou, who man of baser earth didst make, and even with paradise devised the snake, for all the sin wherewith the face of man is blackened, man's forgiveness give, and take. As under cover of departing day slunk hunger-stricken Ramazan away, once more within the potter's house alone I stood, surrounded by the shapes of clay. Shapes of all sorts and sizes, great and small, that stood along the floor and by the wall, and some loquacious vessels were, and some listened perhaps, but never talked at all. Said one among them, "Surely not in vain my substance of the common earth was ta'en, and to this figure moulded, to be broke, or trampled back to shapeless earth again." Then said a second, "Ne'er a peevish boy would break the bowl from which he drank in joy, and he that with his hand the vessel made will surely not in after wrath destroy." After a momentary silence spake some vessel of a more ungainly make, "I sneer at me for leaning all awry. What, did the hand in at the pot a shake?" Whereat some one of the loquacious lot, I think a Sufi pipkin, waxing hot, "All this of pot and potter, tell me then, who is the potter, pray, and who the pot?" "Why," said another, "some there be who tell of one who threatens he will toast to hell the luckless pots he married in making. Pish! He's a good fellow, and 'twill all be well." "Well," murmured one, "let whoso make or buy, my clay with long oblivion is gone dry. But fill me with the old familiar juice, methinks I might recover by and by." So while the vessels one by one were speaking, the little moon looked in that all were seeking, and then they jogged each other, "Brother, brother, now for the porter's shoulder knot a creaking." Ah, with the grape my fading life provide, and wash the body whence the life has died, and lay me shrouded in the living leaf by some not unfrequented garden side, that even my buried ashes such a snare of vintage shall fling up into the air as not a true believer passing by, but shall be overtaken unaware. Indeed, the idols I have loved so long have done my credit in this world much wrong, have drowned my glory in a shallow cup, and sold my reputation for a song. Indeed, indeed, repentance oft before I swore, but was I sober when I swore? And then came spring, and rose in hand, my threadbare penitence a pieces tore. And much as wine has played the infidel, and robbed me of my robe of honour, well, I wonder often what the vintners buy one half so precious as the stuff they sell. Yet that spring should vanish with the rose, that youth's sweet-scented manuscript should close, the nightingale that in the branches sang, ah whence, and whither flown again, who knows? Would but the desert of the fountain yield one glimpse, if dimly, yet indeed revealed, to which the fainting traveller might spring, as springs the trampled herbage of the field. Would but some winged angel, ere too late, arrest the yet unfolded roll of fate, and make the stern recorder otherwise in register, or quite obliterate. Ah, love, could you and I with him conspire to grasp this sorry scheme of things entire, would not we shatter it to bits, and then remould it nearer to the heart's desire? Yon rising moon that looks for us again, how oft hereafter will she wax and wane, how oft hereafter rising look for us through this same garden, and for one in vain. And when, like her, O Saki, you shall pass among the guests star scattered on the grass, and in your joyous errand reach the spot where I made one, turn down an empty glass. Tamam. End of section 2. Section 3 of a Rubaiyat Miscellany. This Librivox recording is in the public domain. The Literal Omar. The following selected quatrains of the original Rubaiyat are those upon which the greater version of Edward Fitzgerald was mainly based. In order to facilitate comparison, the stanzas are numbered to correspond with those in Fitzgerald's version for which they furnished the inspiration. Where two quatrains in the paraphrase bear the same number, both supplied material for the Fitzgerald stanza that is similarly numbered. Thus, Fitzgerald's stanza 9 contains ideas from 9 and 9a of the paraphrase. Conversely, the quatrain in the paraphrase bearing the numbers 49 and 50 was used by Fitzgerald in constructing his two stanzas 49 and 50. To give the general reader the true sense of Omar, as developed by many scholarly translators and commentators, has been the main purpose, and the lines of the paraphrase have been arranged so as to present the old Persian's ideas as intelligibly and forcefully as possible. It need hardly be added that Fitzgerald utilized ideas and figures from miscellaneous quatrains of Omar that are not cited. He may also have introduced a few threads from Attar, Hafez, and perhaps other Oriental poets, weaving the whole together with much that is purely his own. Upon the city towers the sun hath cast a net of lights, into the deep cup of day he pours red wine. Arise and drink, the herald of the dawning cries aloud. At sunrise from the wine shop came a call. Wake, jolly comrades of the tavern bench, and fill another cup ere fate shall come to fill above the brim your cup of life. Know you why the cock at daybreak so oft repeats his cry? Only that in the mirror of the morning you shall see how another night of your life, unmarked by you, hath slipped away. Now the world is glad with verdure, the boughs blossom white as the hand of Moses, and flowers bloom as though every breeze that wooed them were the breath of Jesus. Wert thou wise as Aristotle, or great as Caesar of Rome, or a monarch of Cathay? Drink, drink, I would bid thee, in the cup of Jamshid, for the grave is the end of all. Yea, wert thou Bahram himself, the tomb is thy last home. It is a pleasant day, and neither too hot nor too cold. The dew hath washed the dust from the face of the roses. The nightingale in the Pahlavi tongue cries ever to the yellow rose, drink wine, red wine. A passionate nightingale flitting through the garden, beholding the roses smiling and the cup filled with wine, sang in mine ear, forget not, friend, life is on the wing and comes not back. Since life flies, what difference whether it flies in Naishapur or Babylon? Since the cup must be drained, why ask whether it be sweet or bitter? Drink wine, for often after you and I are dust, yon moon shall wax and wane. See, the robe of the rose is torn by the breeze, the nightingale rejoices in the beauty of the rose. Sit thou in the shade of the rose tree, for by the wind, ere this, have many roses been scattered to become dust of earth. It is dawn! Beloved, sing your song and drink your wine, for the long array of months hath overthrown 1,000 kings like Jamshid and Kai Khosroo. While still a mortal frame is yours, be firm within the fortress of your fate. Yield naught, although your foe be Rustum, son of Zal. Ask no enslaving boon, although your friend be Hatim Tai himself. We that have preferred a corner and 2 loaves to all the world, we that have put aside all greed of wealth and its magnificence, we that through poverty have cherished heart and soul, in poverty have we found great riches. I desire a little ruby wine, and a book of verses, with half a loaf of bread, just enough to nourish me. And then, that thou and I should sit in the wilderness is better than the kingdom of a sultan. Blame me who will, but yet, when in the spring I sit in the meadow beside a loved one beautiful as a houri, with a flask of rich wine, may I be held lower than a dog if ever I dream of paradise. That paradise is pleasant to the blessed, they say. That the juice of the grape is pleasant to me, I know. Hold fast to this cash, and let that credit go, for the drumbeat, O brother, is pleasant from afar. I know not whether my Maker ordained that I should dwell in heaven or in dreadful hell. But a little food, an adored one, a lute and wine upon the green border of a pleasant land, these are cash to me. Thine be the credit, Heaven. Said the rose, I am the flower of Joseph, for my mouth is full of gold. Said I, if thou art indeed the flower of Joseph, show me another sign thereof. And she replied, am I not arrayed in a blood-stained garment? Before fate seizes thee, bid them bring thee rose-hued wine. O thoughtless one, thou art not made of gold, that they that hide thee in earth shall dig thee up again. What profits our coming and our going? Of what stuff is woven the fabric of our life? How many delicate forms the world burns to dust of ashes, and where is even the smoke of them? This ancient inn men call the world, where night and day alternate bide, sets forth a stale banquet at which have sat 100 Jamshids, prepares a couch whereon have slept 100 Bahrams. The palace in which Bahram delighted to carouse is become the haunt of deer, the lair of lions. See how this Bahram that loved to catch the wild ass with a noose is himself in turn ensnared by the tomb. Wherever blooms a rose or tulip bed, there has been spilled the crimson lifeblood of a king. Each violet tuft that grows from out the earth was once a mole upon the cheek of a fair one. How bright are the green herbs that fringe the stream! Trample them not in scorn, for they spring from the lip of beauty, from the dust of a tulip-tinted face they grow. Come hither, beloved, let us forget today and tomorrow and steal this present hour. Tomorrow, when we shall have abandoned this old caravanserai, our old companions shall be all who have departed hence in 7,000 years. Grim fate, even from the beginning of things, foredoomed all to death and destruction. How many of the wise, the great and the noble are already sleeping deep in the bosom of earth? Down from the clouds upon the sward patters life-giving rain. How could I live without the shower of crimson wine? Delightful to me is the grass, but who are they that will delight in the grass that shall spring from my dust? Then let not sorrow afflict thee, nor idle grief burden thy days. Forsake not the book, the loved one's lips, and the green bank of the field, until earth take thee to her bosom. Some ponder creeds and dogmas, some waver betwixt doubt and faith, when suddenly the watcher cries, "Fools, your road lies neither here nor there." These great sages, the chosen of earth, whose bold thoughts dare the heights of heaven, who would attain the utmost of divine wisdom, at the last are baffled, dazed, and dumb. Like a hawk I soared from this world of mysteries in the hope of reaching a higher sphere, but finding no guide thither, I sank to earth again. I flew out by the door through which I came. For a while, when young, I sat at the feet of a teacher. For a while I was satisfied with my lessons. But what was the outcome of all study? We came in like the water, and we depart like the wind. Like the water of a great river, like the wind of the desert, another day passes out of my allotted life. Grief has never lingered in my mind as to 2 days, the day that has not come, and the day that has gone. I had naught to do with my coming here, my unwilling departure hence is fixed by fate. Then gird thee to serve, O light-handed cup-bearer, for I will drown the misery of a world in wine. From the zenith of Saturn down to the depth of earth, I solved all problems of the universe. I loosed myself from the bonds of ignorance and lies. Yea, all secrets I unlocked, save the great secret of death. That secret of eternity is far from thee and me. The key of that enigma is hid from thee and me. Behind the veil, perchance, is speech of thee and me, but when the veil is rent, what then of thee and me? Thou askest the meaning of this fantastic life. To tell thee would be an endless task. It is a painted mirage arising from a shoreless ocean, to sink again into the deep from which it came. O thou, whom all creation seeketh in madness and despair, nor piety nor wealth to thee have found a way. Thy name is in the mouths of all, but all are deaf. Thou art before the eyes of all, but all are blind. Seeking the secret of life, in strong desire I pressed my lip to the lip of the wine jar, and with its lip clinging to mine, the jar whispered, "Drink wine, for to this world thou shalt not return." This jug was once a sighing lover, even as I, wooing a maid of comely face. The handle that thou seest on its neck was once a loving arm that lay upon the neck of a beloved. I saw a potter in the bazaar yesterday pounding the fresh clay, and the clay said to him in mystic speech, "Treat me gently, once was I like to thee." Last night I smote my wine cup on a stone, dazed was my brain that I did so base a thing. To me in mystic speech that goblet said, "I was like thee, thou wilt be like to me." The skilful potters that ever knead the clay, how long will they so beat and trample it? Do they never think that this maltreated earth is that of which their fellow men were made? Each draught that the cupbearer lets fall upon the ground quenches the grief in the eye of some afflicted one. Praise be to God that the juice of the grape can free the heart from 100 pains. Copy the tulip that flames with the new year. Like her, taking the cup in your hand, light of heart, drink wine with the beauty of tulip cheeks, for you know not when the blue wheel above may dash you down. Limit thy desire for worldly things, and live content. Sever the bonds of thy dependence upon the good and bad of life. Lift the wine cup, and play with the curls of thy beloved, for quickly all passes. How many such days remain? Arise, and give me wine. What time is this for words? For tonight thy little mouth fills all my need. give me wine, rose tinted as thy cheeks, for my penitence is as full of tangles as thy curls. Khayyam, if thou art mellow with wine, be happy. If beside thee is one of tulip cheeks, be happy. Since at the end of all things thou wilt be naught, yet while thou art, imagine thou art not, and be happy. Hidden in the heavens is a cup whence all must drink in turn. When thy turn comes, do not lament, quaff it unfearing. I am not one that fears death, for that half of my lot seems pleasanter to me than this, the life which has been lent me, that I shall repay whenever the day of repayment comes. Soul, if thou art able to free thyself from clay and soar, a chainless spirit, through the heavens, shame on thee that thou canst leave that lofty sphere to dwell again in clay. Khayyam, thy body is a tent, thy soul thereof is a sultan whose last home is nothingness. When the sultan quits his pavilion, the grim body servant, Death, strikes the tent to set it up again at another stage of the journey. O Khayyam, the tent of heaven hides secrets from thee. And yet thou knowest that the eternal cupbearer has poured into the bowl of creation a million bubbles like unto thee. Long years will follow after we have passed the veil of the secrets of God, and still the world will bide, though of us remains no trace. The world knew no lack of us before our coming, it will be in no wise altered by our going. Mysteriously this caravan of life goes on its way. Seize then the happy flying moment. Cupbearer, why grieve about the tomorrow of thy patrons? Give me a cup of wine, for the night wanes. Only a breath divides faith and unbelief. Only a breath divides certainty and doubt. Let us make merry while we yet draw breath, for only a breath divides life and death. Now thou art hidden, evident to none. Now thou art manifest in all created things. For thine own delight these marvels are performed by thee, who art at once the player and the looker on. Could we know the secrets of life, we should, knowing death, know likewise the secrets of God. But if today, when you are yourself, you know nothing, tomorrow, when stripped of self, what shall you know? Where is the end of eternity to come, and where the beginning of eternity past? Now is the time of joy, and naught can take the place of wine. Rule and method are now far beyond me, but wine unravels the tangles of every problem. I will pour out a full bumper of wine, nay, 2 cups will content me, and I will 3 times divorce from me dogma and reason, and wed the daughter of the vine. I have taken the measure of existence and non-existence. I have fathomed the inwardness of all, both high and low. Yet I shall be modest as to my knowledge, for it is naught to the insight given by wine. Since the wheel of heaven and fate have never befriended you, why care whether the heavens be 7 or 8? 2 days there are for which I take no thought, the day which has not come, and the day that has gone forever. Last night, in the tavern, a dear friend held out a cup and bade me drink of it. I will not drink, I said, but still he urged, drink for my love's sake. Drink wine that will allay thy many woes, that will banish all the clamour of the 72 sects. Renounce not the wonder worker, since one draught of him can drive away 1,000 sorrows. Drink wine, and thou shalt reign like Sultan Mahmud and hear music sweeter than the harp of David. Enjoy today, give no thought to yesterday nor tomorrow, and thy life shall not be lived in vain. Hast thou planted in our hearts an overwhelming desire which thou hast forbidden us to satisfy? How sad a plight is thine, unhappy man! as though thou wert bidden to turn down a cup without spilling it. O heart, the mystic secret shalt thou not attain, the riddles of the sages shall not be solved by thee. Make thyself a present heaven with wine and cup, for at that place where heaven is thou mayest arrive, or not. Drink wine, for long shalt thou sleep within the mould with neither comrade, friend, or wife. Whisper to none this mighty secret. Tulips once withered will never bloom again. Of all that have set forth upon the long road, who has returned that I may ask him tidings? My friends, leave naught undone in hope of better things, for be sure that you likewise will not come back. Even those who for wit and learning are styled torch-bearers of men, have not made one step into that profound night, they have but told us their dreams, and have fallen to sleep again. At creation's dawn, my soul, beyond the bounds of space, searched for tablet and pen, for heaven and hell. At last the Master said to me, "Tablet and pen, hell and heaven are within thyself." The sweep of sky is but an imprisoning mantle of my weary frame, the Oxus is the river of my tears, hell is a fire kindled by my profitless griefs, paradise is the moment when I am at rest. This heavenly vault, 'neath which we stand bewildered, we know to be a sort of magic lantern. The sun is the flame, the universe is the lamp, we are the revolving figures. No parable, but plain truth it is to say that we are chessmen, heaven plays the game, moving us across the checkered squares of life, and one by one replacing us in the box of nothingness. Thou, driven like a ball by the mallet of fate, whether played to the right or left, drink wine, say little, for he that flung thee down into the melee, he knows, he knows, he knows, he. O heart, since this world's truth itself is illusion, why vex thyself with its cares and sorrows? Trust to fate, bear equally all things, for what the pen has written it will not change for thee. The good and bad that are a part of man, his predestined joys and griefs, charge them not to the rolling heavens, for those heavens are 1,000-fold more helpless than thou art. Heaven is an overturned bowl, and the wise are helpless prisoners beneath it. But the cup and the jar are fast friends as we should be, they are lip to lip, though blood has been spilt between them. At the beginning was written what shall be, unfaltering the pen writes, heedless whether the writing be of good or evil. On that first day he appointed all that must be. Our griefs and strivings are alike in vain. Be happy! Yesterday they settled thy reward, and yesterday is beyond the reach of thy longings. Live happily, for at no wish of thine yesterday they fixed what thou shalt do tomorrow. Quitting this life you shall pass behind the curtain, the veil that hides heaven's secrets. Drink wine, for you know not whence you come. Be merry, for you know not whither you go. That day when the horses of the stars were harnessed and the Pleiades were lighted, on that day the divan of fate decreed our lot. How then shall we be held to account, since our course is that which has been traced for us? O learned fanatic of the town, though I be mellow with wine, yet am I better than thou. For thou drinkest the blood of men, and I the blood of the vine. In justice say which is the more cruel. If I whisper thee my secret thought in a tavern, better it is than formal prayer before the shrine, where thou art not. O thou, first and last of all beings, burn me or cherish me as thou wilt. When God moulded my frame of clay, he knew beforehand what my deeds would be. It is not then in defiance of his will that I have sinned. Why then should I burn in hell? Can I be a rebel, when thy will is omnipotent? Is my heart dark, when thou art Lord of light? If thou bestowest heaven only in return for obedience, it is a debt thou payest, and where then is thy mercy? In my path thou settest 1,000 snares, saying, "Death to thee if thou plant foot therein." Thou orderest all things in this world, and yet they say I do not according to thy desire. Knower of the secret heart of every man, thou that in the hour of weakness upholdest the faltering, accept, O Lord, my penitence and give me strength, thou that givest repentance and acceptest the excuses of all. I passed the potter's house, and saw the craftsman busy at his wheel turning out pots and jars, fashioning them from the moulded heads of kings and feet of beggars. Who can believe that he who made the cup would dream of destroying it? All these fair faces and delicate feet wrought with his fingertips, for love of whom did he make them? For hate of whom would he break them? Thou that rulest the fate of living and dead, that governest the wheel of heaven with thy hand, if I am sinful, am I not thy creature? Art thou not master of all? To whom shall be the blame? Yesterday I went to the workshop of the potter, where I saw 2,000 pots, some speaking, others silent. Suddenly cried out a querulous one, "Where is the potter, the seller, the buyer of pots?" They say that on the last day will be a judgment, and that the beloved friend will be angry. But from eternal goodness naught but good can come. Fear not therefore, thou shalt find mercy at the last. When I lie beneath the foot of fate, when my tree of life is uprooted, see that thou make only a goblet of my clay. Haply, when it is full of wine, I may revive. Ramazan, month of fasting, passes, and the new moon of Shawwal, season of feasting joy and song, is in the sky. Now comes the cry, "Wineskins up!" and the porters come shoulder to shoulder, bearing the bottles. Comrades, give me wine, to make these amber cheeks glow like the ruby, and when I die wash me in wine, and frame my coffin from the wood of the vine. I would fain drink so deep that the perfume of the wine shall exhale from my tomb, and mellow revellers in passing shall be overcome by the rich fragrance. In the tavern one can wash only in wine, and the name there soiled cannot thus be cleansed. Therefore bring more wine, for my robe of honour is spoiled beyond repair. Each morn I say, "This night I shall repent me of the flagon and the brimming bowl." But now that the season of roses hath come to free me from repentance, let me, O Lord, repent my repentance. Though wine has soiled my robe of honour, so long as I live I will not abjure wine. I am in grave doubt concerning vintners, for what can they buy better than what they sell? Alas, the scroll of my youth is rolled up. The springtime of our pleasures is o'er, and that sweet bird, whose name is youth, has flown. It came I know not whence, and whither it goes I know not. Oh that there were a place to rest, and that we might find the straight road thither! Oh that after 100,000 years we might rise from earth's bosom like the new grass! I wish that now, before mine eyes, God would rebuild the world anew. I wish that He would either blot my name from the roll of life, or make my life more fair. Were I master of the heavens, I would sweep all away and fashion new skies, beneath which free man might win his heart's desire. Since none may assure thee tomorrow, make happy thy burdened heart today. Drink wine in the moonlight, fair moon of my soul, for in days to come heaven's moon shall seek us long, but shall not find us. Comrades, when ye gather here, delighting in revelry, as the cupbearer passes the mark wine, Remember one who will be absent. Friends at your joyous meeting, drinking the rich wine together, when the flagon comes to the place that was mine, turn down a cup. The End. End of section 3. Section 4 of a Rubaiyat Miscellany. This Librivox recording is in the public domain. Omar Khayyám, the Rubaiyat, newly paraphrased by Ruel William Whitney, with slight foreword by C.C.M. Jr. 1903, privately printed. The Imperial Press, Cleveland. Foreword. Omar Khayyám, the astronomer-poet of Persia, was born at Naishapur, province of Khorasan, in the first quarter of our 12th century, and died there in the year of the Hegira 517, AD 1123. His poetical name Khayyám signifies tent-maker, a trade which his father is said to have followed before him. There is little data for a biography of Omar, and even this is linked with the names of two other Persians of note in their day, the more distinguished of whom subsequently became vizier to Up-Arslan, progenitor of that dynasty whose cruelties to Christians aroused the just indignations of Peter the Hermit, the first Crusader. The poet's master was Imam Mowaffaq, one of the greatest of Persian scholars, a man highly honoured and revered. Although best known to the Western world as the author of the Rubaiyat, the Persian for quatrains, he wrote a number of books as well as many poems in Persian and Arabic. Upon being made Astronomer Royal, he, with 7 others, revised the calendar, and this revision has been preferred to that of Pope Gregory XIII. A list of his literary labours includes 3 works on natural science, 2 on metaphysics, and 4 on mathematics. Only 3 of these have escaped the ravages so common to early Oriental literature: demonstrations of the problems of algebra, some difficulties of Euclid's definitions, and Sidji Melik Shahi, astronomical tables of which he was the editor. The Rubaiyat was written at various times, and afterwards strung together according to alphabetical order. Numerically, from 100 to 1000 of these stanzas, some genuine, others spurious, have lived through 9 centuries, and may be read in many paraphrases and translations in English, Italian, French, German, and Latin. A study of the manuscript in various libraries discloses numerous variations in the number of quatrains. The Bodleian manuscript of the Ousley collection contains 158 quatrains. The Calcutta Asiatic Society's manuscript 516. The India Office manuscripts 512 and 362. The Calcutta edition of 1252 AH 438, with an appendix of 54 additional. The Paris edition of M. Nicolas 464. The Lucknow lithographed 763, while a fragment edition begun by the late Mr. Blackman contains but 62. Omar chose many peculiar prosodical forms for the expression of his poetical fancy in the Rubaiyat. The poem is made up of quatrains, 4 lines, the first, second, and fourth rhyming, while the third is generally unrhymed, but occasionally all 4 are rhymed. The metre is unfixed, the third line in a different measure from the others as a rule, and nearly always so when rhymeless. A more noticeable peculiarity of the Rubaiyat, and the same applies to Persian poetry generally, is the intricacy of the rhyme scheme. One particularly prevalent form is what, according to John Payne, may be called the throwback, which is found in most of the authentic quatrains of the Rubaiyat. This consists in what is technically known as a redif, or re-word, that is, of an invariable ending of from 1 to 7 syllables, not, in general, of the nature of a refrain or burden independent of the rest of the line, but forming the final and inseparable part of the 3 harmonious lines. Also the fourth, when rhymed, and following immediately upon the rhyme word, which it thus throws back toward, and in some cases even beyond, the middle of the line. To exemplify: Skinker, since ruin is of fortune planned for thee and me, this nether world is no abiding land for thee and me. Yet so the wine cup in the midst but stand for thee and me, rest then assured the very truth's in hand for thee and me. Payne's translation. In this quatrain the rhyme words are planned, land, stand, hand, and the re word is for thee and me. Another. Bethink thee that soulless and bare thou shalt go, the veil of God's mysteries to tear thou shalt go. Drink wine, for thou knowest not whence thou hast come. Live blithe, for thou knowest not whence thou shalt go. Payne's translation. It will be observed that the rhyme word in both examples is some distance from the end of the line. Oft times it is found near the beginning. Omar adopted 24 different quatrains in his Rubaiyat so various and beautiful that we cannot forbear giving other examples of his stanzas. Here is one with an interior rhyme. With a fair-faced maid and wine rose-red by the streamlet's brink, of ease and leisure I'll take my pleasure nor pause to think. I was not I but am today and yet will be. I've drunk of yore and drink evermore and yet will drink. In this quatrain the first, second and fourth are rhyming lines. The contre-petard, if an infidel, drunk with the Magian's wine I am, I am. If idolater, scoffer at things divine, I am, I am. Each sect and each sort hath a different opinion of me. Forsooth I'm my own, yea, and such as, in fine, I am, I am. Another of the same kind. They say that a tavern besetter I am, I am. That a toper and wanton abettor I am, I am. My outward I read thee but little consider, in sooth. Such at heart, no worse and no better I am, I am. Payne's translation. Following is what is known as the ding-dong. Now the mead with the sound of the thousand tales singing is ringing. Take the wine the fair, tipsily to and fro swinging is bringing. Up the rosebud of gladness hath blossomed awhile in the garden. Make merry, for life, whilst to sorrow thou'rt clinging, is winging. Still another is the echo. Liquid life in the chalice we troll is flowing, flowing. In the grape blood's incorporate soul is flowing, flowing. In the heart of the frozen water fluid fire is. Red ruby in crystal bowl is flowing, flowing. Payne's translation. Note also the double rhythm, a most peculiar verse suggestive of a verbal conjugation. I spake, thou spakest. Heart gave I thee, thou me disdain. I take, thou takest. Thou heart from me, I from thee pain. I am, thou art too. Thou merry, and I for thee sad. I make, thou makest. Thou wrong, and I patience in vain. Payne's translation. Regarding the subject matter of the Rubaiyat, Omar, in the warm blood of youth, shows himself a poet of revolt, scoffing and ridiculing the absurd customs and religious tenets of his country which he could not honestly hold as his own. The very embodiment of carpe diem obtains in the verse: Come, drink your fill and revel in the spring, cast off all sadness and with pleasure sing. We have but here a little while to stay, why should our lives be solemn on the way? Whitney. Later, for we must bear in mind that the quatrains were written at various periods and afterwards brought together, no verse depending upon its successor for its sense of meaning, a calmer and less combative strain prevails. There are steps backward, especially when the gloom of predestination surrounds him. Each is not made symmetrical and tall, but stand by contrast like the spring and fall. What of your neighbour that he looks awry, did he then falter with his hand or eye? Whitney. but the intellect grows augmentative, and the still small voice prompts the reply. Thou who didst place me in this world of sin, nor point the road I was to wander in, thou wilt not blame me with thy perfect light, though I should wander from the path of right. Whitney. And finally, when head yields to heart, there comes the broad Christianity of love for one's fellow man. If I could make anew the world again, and change the laws and government of men, no sickness would I have, nor any pain, but joy and gladness should for ever reign. Whitney. The Sufis, of whom Hafez was the mastermind, have endeavoured to class Omar as one of themselves, and that underlying all his words of voluptuousness and irreligion is a deep mystical meaning. Into this seeming error Monsieur Nicolas, at one time French consul to Resht, has fallen, and apparently strains many interpretations to strengthen his conclusions. But the thoughtful student of the Rubaiyat must eventually believe that his author meant the juice of the grape when he wrote wine, although he probably sang more of its pleasures than he tasted. Omar was a free thinker, and with only a finite mind he sought to fathom the great mystery of life and death, but the riddle was beyond his ken. At times he is almost petulant in his defeat, yet we cannot but think that he, like a more modern poet, when the day for speculation was over, came at last to faintly trust the larger hope. C.C.M. Junior. End of section 4. Section 5 of Rubaiyat Miscellany. This Librivox recording is in the public domain. The Rubaiyat. Wake, ere the sun shall scatter in their flight the stars grown pallid in his fiercer light. The darkness changes into day divine, and gilds the Sultan's turret with its shine. Before the darkness from the east had died, a voice was heard that from the tavern cried, "When in the temple all's prepared aright, why do you worship in the shades of night?" Loud crowed the cock upon the dawn of day, while many crowded to the entrance way, and shouted as they neared the outer door, "When once departed we return no more." When the new year, reviving all the past, drops off its garments for a newer cast, white on the hills the snowy caps are seen, while in the valleys all the earth is green. Iram is sunk in fair Arabia's sand, and Jamshid's cup is now no more at hand. Still is there perfume in the ruby wine, and water nurses into life the vine. Mute are the lips of David, nor more repeat in purest Sanskrit that good wine is sweet, but cries the bulbul in his tones divine, "The drooping rose now pale should drink red wine." Come, drink your fill and revel in the spring, cast off all sadness and with pleasure sing. We have here but a little while to stay, why should our lives be solemn on the way? If Babylon or Naishapur be ours, what matters then the passing of the hours? Our life goes from us like the setting sun, all earthly joys are passing one by one. Each day brings that which was not here before, and takes away what shall be here no more. For every grief the snows of winter make, the gleam of spring 1,000 joys awake. Well, let them go, for we have naught to do with prince or monarch, be he false or true, though Zal and Rustum should both fret and fume, and Hatim call for food till day of doom. Here let us rest. There is in every state a line betwixt the lowly and the great. Here is nor slave nor master ever known, though Sultan Mahmud sits upon his throne. Give me a book of verses 'neath a tree, a loaf of bread, a jug of wine, and thee to sing my love songs in a willing ear. I need not wait, for Paradise is here. One takes his pleasure as the days pass by, another hopes for happiness on high. best seize the present with its joys at hand, we have no knowledge of a better land. The rose in blooming casts its fragrance round, for joy and gladness in its heart abound. But once 'tis plucked, it withers in a day, and other life will spring from its decay. Some are who husband for a future place, and those who throw it to the winds apace. 'Tis all the same, when you have passed to rest, you shall not answer to the world's behest. The things we hope for may not always be, for life bethinks a boat in open sea. A few short years we travel here and there, and then pass onward to we know not where. Within the world wherein we live today, millions have come and gone upon their way. The ruling monarch with his haughty tread must sleep like others in his narrow bed. In halls historic where kings ruled supreme, grates on the ear the owl's affrighted scream, the fountain dry, the court in silence deep, its tenants gone to their eternal sleep. Where lies the body of a slave or king, there, nourished by decay, new life will spring. The hyacinth and rose with perfumed breath both live and flourish by another's death. The very fringes of the streams that run their onward course and glisten in the sun, receive their verdure from some source unseen where rests, perhaps, some monarch or his queen. With wine we throw all past regrets away, and banish sorrow with each passing day. Tomorrow from today cannot be seen, nor do we know what things may lie between. The friends we've loved and cherished in the past receive their image from a former cast. They knew their sorrows, and with joys were blessed, and like the setting sun have gone to rest. We who survive, of many cares bereft, enjoy our pleasures in the place they left. Then we pass onward to another place, and younger feet will enter on the race. Make merry with the world as best you may, ere you, like them, are called to pass away. All pleasure ceases with our loss of breath, and all is ended with the one word death. You who now worship in your place today, and those who shall for some tomorrow pray, the voice of Satan in the darkness cries, "Here is no hope, nor yet beyond the skies." Not all the wisdom of the good and great can prove beyond doubt a future state. They, like their works, are scattered far and wide, and saint and sinner now rest side by side. While yet a youth, the future all obscure, the veil cast down before a bolted door, I stretched weak hands the darkened way to clear, nor wisdom gained from any learned seer. Like to myself they in the world were cast, and knew no future as they knew no past. All life's a mystery, and we do not know from whence we came, or whither we shall go. Thrown on a world without our own consent, a homeless traveller on some mission bent, mid joys and sorrows we divide the day till life be ended, and we pass away. We came without our asking, and we know that without asking we must surely go. All life and death are riddles at the best, unsolved by millions long since gone to rest. Above the earth I sought the loftiest place, and gazed about me in the realm of space, to clear the mysteries that our life attend from our beginning to our common end. I sought to find what all had sought before, but found no entrance through the outer door. With thoughts conflicting do we pass the day, then unremembered do we go our way. There is no standard under man's control can give the measure of the human soul. The heavens above refuse to make more clear all that lies hidden from us mortals here. Then to my soul within this mortal woof I put the riddle, and implored the truth. Alas! the lamp of life shed forth no light to calm the doubting spectres of the night. Then to the earth did I appeal again, to learn the mystery of the lives of men. And for my answer I could hear it say, "Once past, you never will return this way." Perchance this speaker with a trembling voice The joys of love and wine had made rejoice. Ah, many kisses warm were his the while, And joy and pleasure lived within his smile. If you but stop a moment on the way, When passing o'er the road from day to day, Perhaps a voice long silent with the dead Will you admonish for your careless tread. This much is true, from time we know not when, That man has followed all his fellow men From the first hour his Maker gave him birth, Out from the dusty womb of Mother Earth. Each careless step as on the earth we tread Falls on the face of some forgotten dead, Who lived and flourished, mid his hopes and fears, When earth was younger by some million years. When you, in passing, see some favourite flower Blush in the sweetness of the morning hour, Devoutly ponder that when you have fled, Some rose perhaps will rise from out your bed. When we shall clear all mystery away, And take our pleasure with each passing day, Then shall we blend the human and divine, And drown all sorrow in the flowing wine. Today as yesterday to us shall be, All rivers reach the ever-changing sea, The chain is endless in all things that run, As nights that follow on the setting sun. When you have lived the destined time of man, And life has reached the limit of its span, Shrink not from passing to that unknown shore. Why should you wish to live and suffer more? If into space the soul can soar away, And leave this body to its sure decay, Were it not better thus our freedom there, Than live in bondage in a world of care? Life's but a well from which all creatures drink, And then pass onward to that darker brink. The Sultan rises and then sinks to rest, And earth receives another for its guest. Why should we worry at our ending here? The future and the past are very near. The dust we tread on in our walks today Was some poor mortal who has passed away. When we have gone beyond all hopes and fears, New lives will come through earth's remaining years, And then give place to others in their prime, To sink forgotten in the sands of time. An instant living in a world of joy, A freak of fortune, or a childish toy, A little pleasure not unmixed with doubt, And life is ended as it started out. Would you the secret of existence find, Then study well the science of the mind. Live for today, tomorrow's book is sealed, No source or ending of our life's revealed. All life's a mystery, and all death the same, 'Tis but returning by the road we came. Could life or death reveal to us its laws, Then might we know, perhaps, the primal cause. Throughout creation runs a mystic vein, And being mystic it must so remain. Do what we will, all races come and go, And only He remains who made it so. Man comes from darkness to the light of day, He lives and loves and passes on his way, And that same One who gave his being birth Again consigns him to his Mother Earth. The earth gives up no secrets of the dead, No spirit e'er returns that once has fled. We live within the limits of today, Between the coming and the passed away. Since life's uncertain, do the best we can. Why should we quarrel with our fellow man? 'Tis better with good wine our blood to flow, Than delve for things unsolved we cannot know. 'Tis waste of time to reason as we may About the future or the passed away. Drink, then, the nectar of the grape divine, And drown all sorrow in the flowing wine. Man's life's a riddle that he cannot guess, Both joy and sorrow doth his soul possess. Let others wrangle o'er the great design, I am versed in nothing save good sparkling wine. 'Tis said my reckoning will reduce the year by using only days that now are here. Tomorrow is unknown, whate'er we say, and no one can recall a yesterday. And as I stood within the tavern door, there came a being that had passed before, who on his shoulders bore a draught divine that cheers us on our way. 'Twas sparkling wine. 'Tis wine that levels to one common creed the sects wide scattered that dissension breed, an alchemist like those in days of old who turned base metal into finest gold. A mighty monarch that throughout the land dispels all fear and sorrow with his hand, allays all care and trouble in our mind, and leaves all darkness and all doubt behind. If the Creator made the grape to grow and knew 'twas evil, would have made it so? Why should we murmur? 'Twas the will divine gave us the grape, and after it the wine. Affrighted by a phantom of that awful place, must I all pleasure from this life erase? In hope some paradise my soul may find, when all that's mortal shall be left behind? Our hopes and fears alternately arise, for ever turning to the vaulted skies. All nature's lessons we at once ignore, a thing once perished will revive no more. Of all departed to that future state, not one returns to tell us of his fate, to cheer or warn us with a voice of love, and point the way to happiness above. Wise men before us have their stories told of heaven's beauties and its streets of gold, but having passed through their allotted day, they give no sign that they have found the way. If we would analyze our thoughts aright, and view all nature in its proper light, of future torment we should have no fear, our heaven or hell is as we make it here. Heaven's the pleasure of a deed well done, and hell the torture from the race we've run. Thrown on a world we did not care to know, we live like others, and like others go. The master hand that sets us on the way rings in the changes of each passing day. We act our part like others in the show, for ever shifting like the tides that flow. As potters form their vessels from the clay, and make new patterns with each passing day, so like the potter are the lives of men, for ever changing, but to change again. While we may seem our course in life to guide, continued tossing on life's changing tide, the One who placed in us the moving power knew what would happen from our natal hour. The course mapped out no earthly power can change, the piece once set we cannot rearrange. Once on the way the life that is to be goes ever onward like the restless sea. Call not on heaven for help in your distress, 'twas not intended that it should be less. All things that are, whatever they may be, have as fixed laws as govern you and me. From earth's first clay primeval man was made, he last shall be with harvest long delayed. So the first light that dawned upon the earth must end in darkness that first gave it birth. Each day brings forth the things that are to be, regardless of what man may wish or see. Drink then, thus drown your sorrows and your woe, you know not whence you came or where you go. This much is clear, when started on the way, our life moves forward with each passing day. Not all the stars or planets as they roll can change the plan predestined for the soul. Around my being there's a stream that runs as Jupiter is circled round with suns, and from its course what wonders may arise that lead along the road to Paradise. Then know you this, when one receives the light whose mind has been like darkness of the night, the joy within him when from bonds released speaks stronger far than any mitred priest. Will He who formed and made us what we are alike all pleasure from our life debar? Will he condemn to everlasting pain the thing conceived within his perfect brain? Forced on a world without our own consent, must we pay interest where no money's lent? Must we pay gold for baser metal given, nor question why this is the will of heaven? Thou who didst place me in this world of sin, nor point the road I was to wander in, thou wilt not blame me with thy perfect light, though I should wander from the path of right. Thou who didst form us from our mother earth, and to the snake in paradise gave birth, o'erlook the sin it was our lot to take, and grant forgiveness for our blind mistake. All days have ended where the night began, as Bairam follows upon Ramazan, and so within the world each stands alone to view the scenes some other lives have known. Surrounded by the things we see and hear, with many distant and with others near, some pass the time in talking through the day, while others listen and have naught to say. Where is the wisdom that would cause to make a thing of beauty for its hands to break? Where is the mother who the child gave birth would help consign it to the dust of earth? 'Tis not in nature that our hands destroy a thing of beauty, that which gives us joy. Nor will the love that gave our being birth turn into hatred at some childish mirth. Each is not made symmetrical and tall, but stands by contrast like the spring and fall. What of your neighbour that he looks awry? Did he then falter with his hand or eye? Whereat some vessel that was once a priest, but now perhaps 1,000 years deceased, said, "Tell me with your wealth of lore displayed, which is the maker here and which the maid?" Another said, "There is a tale they tell of one who threatens with the pains of hell the thing made wrong by morals or by birth. Fear not, all goodness will receive its worth." Said one, "I stand upon the earth to-day, formed into being from some former clay, but give me of the wine I drank before, and I'll be merry as in days of yore." Loquacious with the theme of all on high, the fasting moon now passing from the sky, the fast of Ramazan at length was done, and Bairam's feast with cheering was begun. Give me good wine my ebbing life to cheer, and wash my body when no breath is here. Lay me beneath some ever spreading shade, beside the path another's feet have made. That I may nourish in my mother earth the vine that cheered my being from its birth, and all believers as they pass this way shall each be strengthened from my slow decay. The things I've sought to cheer me on the road, and ease life's burden of its heavy load, would seem by priest and prophet out of place, and thus I've lost my standing in the race. 'Tis true, like thousands that have gone before, I've sought repentance and an open door, but should in after days new pleasure rise, I've lapsed to earth, forgetful of the skies. Yet oft I've wondered as I drank the wine, that robbed me of my right to life divine, if those who mark it, if the truth be told, received in value half the joys they sold. 'Tis said that youth will vanish like the spring, and age come creeping like an ugly thing, that birds of beauty and of plumage rare will pass and vanish to we know not where. Oh, that some spirit from the great beyond would to our queries and our thoughts respond, and lift the veil that mortals here might see that other world, if other world there be. Or some good angel in that brighter land proclaim the record as the figures stand, then we poor mortals could at once decide to place our balance on the credit side. If I could make anew the world again, and change the laws and government of men, no sickness would I have, nor any pain, but joy and gladness should for ever reign. Yon silver moon that shines upon its way will shine on others in a future day, and look in vain for one it saw before, now past the portals to be seen no more. And you, O reader, when my life has fled, and you shall visit at my lowly bed, drink of the wine that cheered me from my birth, and then pass onward to renew your mirth. Tamam. End of section 5. Section 6 of a Rubaiyat Miscellany. This Librivox recording is in the public domain. 50 Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyám. Paraphrased from literal translations by Richard Le Gallienne. The Philosopher Press, at the sign of the Green Pine Tree, Warsaw, Wisconsin. 200 copies printed for private circulation only for James Carlton Young and his friends, of which this is number 180. Signed, Richard Le Gallienne. O tattered robe and face with loving pale, pass me not by. I am the nightingale that dares to sing of riot and the rose, and, brother, I would give thee hand and hail. But sinner, there's one thing I want to hear. Oh, tell me, is your sinning quite sincere? You would not leave it even though you could. Say that you would not, O my brother dear. Remember, all the pious who cry shame, with holy horror on your tattered fame, watch only for the opportunity of turned backs and the dark to do the same. Let us at least who think the rose is best not paltry lie about it like the rest, but lift our glasses frankly in the sun, and take our love as frankly to our breast. This is the creed of Omar. I believe in wine and roses, also I believe in woman. What a foolish thing to do! And in the God that made them I believe. Oh, dearer than the soul that gives me breath, dearer than life, as the old proverb saith, nay, that is but a sorry compliment, for thou, my love, art dearer even than death. My days are filled with wonder and with wine. Wine helps the wonder, wonder helps the wine. But in the night my bosom fills with tears, 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 for one who never can be mine. Even sad eyes must sparkle in the sun, but when the miracle of day is done, down in a bankrupt darkness deep I lie, haunted by all I lost, and might have won. Yet was there aught to win that is not mine? I ask not money, only to buy wine. Women forsake me not for all my sins. What better winnings, pious friend, are thine? I am not fit for hell, I am too small. For heaven I am too heretical. I love both places, yet not one enough. Twixt the two stools I fall, and fall, and fall. God gave me eyesight, shall I rob my eyes? He gave me smell, instead of merchandise, members and senses delicate to feed. Who bids me starve them God himself denies. Yea, none shall tell that I have turned away, ungrateful, when some woman bid me stay. The golden invitation of a friend I answered ever with a thankful Yea. Think not that I have never tried your way to heaven, you who pray and fast and pray. Once I denied myself both love and wine, yea, wine and love, for a whole summer day. I cannot help it. Were it in my power, I would forsake my sins this very hour, forswear the rose and bid the vine good-bye, kiss my last kiss, if it were in my power. O good old friends, what is it I have said? It was the wine which got into my head. Forgive me, oh forgive, I meant it not. I shall forsake you only when I'm dead. And even then, who knows, we'll meet again, nor the celestial wine cup cease to drain, and in some laughter-loving heaven on high our little women to our bosoms strain. When to this lute of life I come anear, hoping to snatch some little worldly gear, I find the fools have carted off the best, and nought is left for me but hope and fear. If thou wilt keep my head well filled with wine, I care not if the whole round world be thine. O fading kingdoms and forgotten kings, I know a better kingdom — drink red wine. Within the tavern each man is a king. Wine is the slave that brings him — anything. O friend, be wise in time and join our band. Drink and forget and laugh, and dance and sing. I wonder why I go on living still This life of pain and poison, why I still trust friends, hope good, still fight and still have faith In this world's business, still think of it, still. I gave my heart, and life returns me naught. My mind, my soul I gave — for what? For naught. All dreams and loves and hopes I freely gave, nothing is left to give — I give it — naught. You say, there are so many crowns to win, Yet you lie sunken in your sleepy sin. Bring me a crown of gold and big enough And I will wear it — all these are of tin. Whether you would abide or go away, Wine will befriend you, friend, for if you stay You'll forget going, and if you must go, He'll drown you in the very sweetest way. Some that would leave this world take dreadful means. One wrenching poisons, one steel, another leans His brow on sudden fire, but wine is best. Poets have died so, and many kings and queens. Wine is the tender friend of suicides. You drown so softly in its gentle tides. You know not you are dying, yet you die, and love with rose leaves all the ruin hides. Would you forget a woman? Drink red wine. Would you remember her? Then drink red wine. Is your heart breaking just to see her face? Gaze deep within this mirror of red wine. Face like a glass wherein all heaven lies, A firmament reflected in two eyes. Thanks to your heaven, I am deep in hell. The shadow of your laughter is my sighs. My cheeks like hollow cups are filled with tears. My body is a haunted house of fears. My heart is like a wine jar filled with blood. O God, those sightless eyes, those small deaf ears. A sheikh once took a harlot in her shame, Calling the poor soul many an ugly name. "'Tis true," she wept, "all I appear I am, But, sheikh, of thee would I could say the same." Oh, speak not evil of these dancing flowers, These girls that arrogantly we call ours, Yours, mine, and any one's who bids and buys. O God, the pity of the fate of flowers. Girl, have you any thought what your eyes mean? You must have stolen them from some dead queen. O little empty laughing soul that sings and dances, Tell me, what do your eyes mean? And all this body of ivory and myrrh, O guard it with some little love and care. Know your own wonder, worship it with me, See how I fall before it deep in prayer. How sad to be a woman, not to know Aught of the glory of this breast of snow, All unconcerned to comb this mighty hair, To be a woman and yet never know. Were I a woman I would all day long Sing my own beauty in some holy song, Bend low before it, hushed and half afraid, And say, "I am a woman" all day long. O love, I come to worship in your shrine. There is no part of you is not divine. There is no part of you not human too. There is no part of you that is not mine. Except that heart of precious stone, Cold heart no man shall ever call his own, Nor fire warm, nor might of loving win, Heart great and cold, enough to dwell alone. Though my estate be poor, my raiment torn, I am not really sorry I was born, for God has given me my heart's desire, wine and the well-beloved and the morn. Sad pilgrim of the heart, the way is long, suppose we lighten it for you with a song. Here in the tavern rest your wandering feet, strong is your love, but wine is just as strong. We know the love that drives you to and fro, like hungry dogs that through the city go, the hollow hunger of the breaking heart, and the one cure for it, alike we know. Saki, bring roses for this sad one's hair, and set a bowl of rubies for him there. And you, O moon, dance, dance, and dance, and dance, that the poor fellow may not think of her. Life is too short, dear brother, to be sad. If you must needs be anything, be glad. Leave bitter books and read the book of joy. I know that some declare the book is bad. To all of us the thought of heaven is dear. Why not be sure of it and make it here? No doubt there is a heaven yonder too, but 'tis so far away, and you are near. A book, a woman, and a flask of wine, the three make heaven for me. It may be thine is some sour place of singing, cold and bare, but then I never said thy heaven was mine. Love, the fair day is drawing to its close, the stars are rising, and a soft wind blows, the gates of heaven are opening in a dream, the nightingale sings to the sleeping rose. Shadows and dew and silence and the stars, I wonder, love, what is behind those bars of twinkling silver? Is there aught behind? Venus and Jupiter, Sirius and Mars, Aldebaran and the soft Pleiades, Orion ploughing the ethereal seas. Which are the stars, my love, and which your eyes? And oh, the nightingale in yonder trees. Heart of my heart, in such an hour as this, the cup of life brims all too full of bliss. See, it runs over in these happy tears, how strange you seem, how solemn is your kiss. Love, if I should die before you died, would you be really sorry that I died? And would you weep a whole week on my tomb, then be a little happy that I died? And would you see some face that looked like mine, and love it, love, because it looked like mine, and say, "How strangely like Khayyam you are," and kiss the face so wondrously like mine? When would you bring him softly where the rose showers its petals upon my repose, and shed 2 tears together on my tomb? Strange are the ways of grief. Who knows? Who knows? Here end the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam of Naishapur, newly done into English verse by Richard Le Gallienne, made into this book by Helen Bruno van Vechten, at the Philosopher Press, which is in Warsaw, Wisconsin, at the sign of the Green Pine Tree, finished this 2nd day of March, 1901. Made for Mr. James Carlton Young, Minneapolis, Minnesota. End of section 6. End of a Rubaiyat Miscellany. Recording by Algy Pug.